Hey guys, what is going on? You are checking out an all new The RCWR Show. Well rested, Lee Sanders here. Thank you guys so much for checking out tonight's episode. Coming at you live right now for July the 23rd, 2019. A couple of minutes removed from Smackdown. How the hell y'all been, man? Hope y'all had a fantastic and relaxful weekend. And most importantly, if some of you had got affected by those thunderstorms, and it was really bad, especially over here in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. Shout out to those of you in particular in the Montgomery County area out in Maryland. I know there was a lot of you guys that had got hit with some serious blackout, and a lot of residents weren't really sure how long it was going to be before the power restored, trying to figure out if they were going to maybe put themselves up in a hotel or what, go stay with a family or a friend. It was crazy in the DMV, but I know there was also surrounding areas in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area that were affected by the recent bout of storms. But you know, on a good note, that rain did bring in a little bit of coolness, because depending on where you are, I know DC, it saw a peak yesterday of like 101 degrees. I mean, it was scorching hot, and not to start the show off with a Debbie Downer or anything like that, but no bullshit. There was a person, now some of you may say, Lee, that doesn't make any sense why that person did what they did, but it's crazy when I think about it. But check this out. Somebody decided yesterday it would be a good idea to go hiking. And keep in mind, I just told you guys it was in the DC metropolitan area. It was 101 degrees. Now, humidity wasn't really that kind yesterday, so that 101 kind of jumped a little bit, almost kind of feeling like it was 110 degrees, right? Now, people that live in Texas, Tennessee, California, they're kind of used to that kind of weather, basically, all right? But some individual decided yesterday in the DC area they were going to go hiking, and they died as a result. 32 years of age. I found it crazy because I was watching the late night news with my girl last night, and we were just going back and forth for a couple of minutes because I'm going, how do you die? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And she goes, it's the temperature. I say, yeah, but at the same time, you gotta know how to pace yourself. Like, you can get where you need to go, right? In that kind of weather, you just gotta make sure you're staying hydrated. And when you feel, I would imagine, completely exhausted, and I would imagine, just from personal experience, you go chill under the shade somewhere, some jazz like that, and then, you know, once you kind of caught yourself a little bit, or you're somewhere where there's some AC, pick it back up, do what you need to do. But I'm curious what was going on with that person that died, because I mean, when you hear 32, it's like all they're doing is hiking. First question that comes to your mind, how much water did they have? And were they really pacing themselves that well? So I'm waiting a little bit until more information comes out about that. But yeah, that's crazy. So hopefully you guys have been playing it cool with this hot weather, and most importantly, y'all been checking on the elderly, particularly elderly neighbors, checking up on the kids, making sure you show that extra love to the pets, because you don't want to be playing around in this kind of weather, man. We got a nice, good show for you down here. For sure. Nice show we got planned for you all. So, a lot of stuff we're going to dive into. Some wrestling related topics, and then some non-wrestling related topics. So, it's going to be a pretty good, well-rounded episode. I was looking quite forward to this. Honestly, ever since it was announced they were going to be doing the RAW Reunion. So, I mean, if we're going to start anywhere getting to the talk of wrestling tonight, we might as well go on ahead and first talk about that RAW Reunion. So, look, we did poll you guys, as we poll you every single Monday night at the conclusion of RAW. And as I stressed this on Facebook and all throughout social media, if you want to try to build a rapport with me, the best way to do that is to interact when Raw is on, for sure when Smackdown is on, definitely when there's a wrestling pay-per-view on, typically a Impact or a WWE pay-per-view. That's like the best way to interact and build a nice little back and forth with me, right? That way I kind of know who you are and I'm a little bit familiar with you. And of course, hey, you know, you definitely are familiar with me. But we polled you guys, and looking at the results right now, as the polling is open for just a little while longer, you got a couple more days to vote. if you have not seen Raw just yet. But right now, I'm seeing, we're going to Facebook first. Facebook, I am seeing, bear with me a second here. I got Facebook already set up. I got to do something in the sound switchboard here, and that's done. All right, so far on Facebook, I am seeing, interesting, we've got about 79% giving Raw a thumbs up, and the rest is giving it a thumbs down. So again, that's on Facebook. Pretty interesting. Shout out to those of you that's casting those votes on Facebook. I see that's been growing a little bit more the past couple of weeks. I like that. I love that. And I always try to go out of my way to let you guys know on Facebook, if you don't like the polling options that you see, as it is very limited, not by my end, just the way Facebook has designed it to cast your votes on Twitter and YouTube, because you get more variety that way. And Twitter we go now. Twitter, I'm seeing we've got, so far, 26% of you are staying in the middle. 28% of you are giving it a thumbs down, and 46% of you are giving Raw a thumbs up. Meanwhile, YouTube we go now. YouTube, we are seeing 24% of you are giving the show a thumbs up. Meanwhile, 29% of you are giving Raw a thumbs down, and 47% of you are staying in the middle. By the way, is my recorder on, just in case something weird happens? No, it is not. Hang on a second here. There we go. That's a lot better. I got to make sure that recorder is on so we can get in that good audio there. All right. So again, YouTube, 24% of you giving it a thumbs up. 29% of you are giving Raw Reunion a thumbs down. And 47% of you are staying in the middle for this week's show. Look, when it's all said and done, it depends on who you talk to. You have some people that felt this was better than Raw 25. And then you have others, the opposite. The others feel that, Raw 25, it just depends. Just depends. Raw 25 was it compared to Raw Reunion. Raw Reunion sucked compared to Raw 25. It just depends. Some people feel, both were honestly lackluster, right? So it just really is a matter of opinion and just who you ask. But I mean, if you're asking me to officially go on record and say, hey, what did I think about Raw this week? Honestly, I would say it was nice seeing some of the people that I have not seen in a while, like a Melina, a Medusa. Even though I'm following Medusa's Facebook page, I swear to God, it seems like I'm not seeing her post as much as she used to. And it's really weird because I don't like and follow that many Facebook pages. So I find it kind of interesting that there used to be a time where every time Medusa was doing something via Facebook, I always knew about it. I didn't do anything to my notification settings or anything of that nature. So used to be a time where I'd always see something on Medusa, but as of late, it's been getting less and less and less and less and less. So my point, it's kind of hard for me to know what's going on with her unless I purposely go out of my way to see what's going on with her Facebook page. I was trying to check out her podcast for a bit, but you guys would have to enlighten me. But last I had tried to check out her podcast, she kind of had it on a little bit of a hiatus. There was like some type of deal she was trying to get set up to launch it and or relaunch it or something of that nature. And I just kind of pretty much lost whatever's been going down with her. But it was nice seeing Medusa. It was definitely nice seeing Melina. It was nice seeing Caitlyn. God, that girl is beautiful and fine as I don't know what, man. I didn't particularly care for Alicia Fox. Nothing personal, just, it's weird. There used to be a time where I'm not trying to be a Benedict Arnold or anything like that, because I know we're going to have some longtime listeners that's going to be like, wait a minute, Lee, you're always talking about consistency. I remember a time where you used to say Alicia Fox was one of the most underrated women on the roster. What changed your opinion, man? Why do you feel the way you feel about Alicia Fox? Honestly, I don't like the fact that too many times within recent years, she's been making headlines in a negative light, and that's really been leaving a very bitter taste in my mouth, and then some could say, well, that's just stuff outside of the ring. Can't you kind of separate that from what you get of her on your TV and what she's doing in the ring? And it's like, okay, well, you know what? I see that point, and okay, I'll try to go that point. But it seems that whatever problems, demons, whatever the hell you want to call it, that's going on with her outside of the ring somehow seems to follow her into the ring. And at some points, there's been a lot of sloppiness. So my critique of her in the past, which was at one point praise and talking about how underrated she was and everything, nowadays it's just, I just look at that as a wasted spot. And I think about some of the other talents down there at the Performance Center, talents that's out there on the indies, saying, man, these cats would be a great addition as a replacement to Alicia Fox. So you guys got to forgive me if I'm not exactly on the Alicia Fox bandwagon. I was looking for Psycho Sid. Austin, I'm doing good. Lee, I'm doing good. Lee Strackman, I'm doing good. I was looking for Psycho Sid because, it's always awesome to see Sid. We hadn't seen Sid in a couple of years. I was ecstatic to see Sid because that was the one guy I was going, okay, you know what? Last I saw him, the face was very recognizable, had a decent build for a much older man. But you know what? I always fucked with Sid. All right, let's see what Sid's been up to this go round. For whatever respected reason, no Sid this go round. Apparently, he let the way the report is going out there, and I mean, you got to take it with a grain of salt. As far as I'm concerned, whoever's able to get the opportunity to maybe have Sid officially go on record and explain why he was not able to do the Raw event. I mean, we don't need exact details, right? But just hear from the horse's mouth is what I always like, right? But, you have the rumblings that, he turned him down for whatever respected reason. He turned him down like pretty quickly once he was able to establish that he wasn't, in fact, going to be able to be there. And you can actually, as far as proof in the pudding, you can go back and you can see some of the original promotional material that was used for this Raw reunion. Sid was included. His face, likeliness, and all that, it was included. So the fact that, it's kind of like a night and day, and the way that WWE still kind of went about advertising, even right on up to the last minute, you were kind of led to the impression he was going to be there, but no Sid. I was a little bit disappointed that there was no Bret Hart, but I kind of rewinded back to Bret Hart making that appearance at AEW's what was it? Not Fyter Fest. What was it? It was the last one, wasn't it? It wasn't Fight for the Fallen. What was the one that they just did? Oh my God, I can't remember. Not the one they just did, but you guys know the one I'm talking about. It wasn't Fyter Fest, because Fyter Fest was the gaming joint. It was not Fight for the Fallen. I would need somebody's help to re-jog my memory. It was several weeks ago, and Bret Hart had popped up, and he unveiled the new AEW World Heavyweight Championship and all that. So, that was pretty much like the last time we saw Bret Hart post his WWE Hall of Fame ceremony speech where he got jumped by the fan and everything. So, I was looking forward to Bret Hart. No Bret Hart. That kind of made me feel a little down a little bit. Stone Cold, look, I'd be lying if I said, no, not Chicago. They're doing Chicago in August. There was don't just put it in there just so I can acknowledge, if you're going to help me out, be thorough with your information. I'll say it one more time, and then, you know what? We won't. Thank you, Gino. Thank you. See, I can always depend on Gino. Gino, thank you, my man. It was AEW's Double or Nothing. That was the one where Bret Hart has showed up. AEW's Double or Nothing. The one that's getting ready to happen in Chicago is basically All Out 2, and that's going to be happening on August the 31st, Saturday, August the 31st. We'll talk more about AEW because we got a lot of AEW news that we need to dive into since last we were on air. I didn't even get a chance to talk about CM Punk, about that announcement. Yeah, so just stick around for that. It's going to be a lot of fun, right? especially with my past experience with the last CM Punk meet and greet and all that. So stick around, that's going to be fun. But yeah, no Bret Hart, no Jake the Snake Roberts. I alluded to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Look, Steve Austin, I know how he looks. I know what's been going on with him because I can go see him on Broken Skull Ranch, or I'm following him on Twitter actually. So I usually get to see all kinds of videos he's putting up where, wherever he's on the road or he's sharing a photo op with somebody, another celebrity, or whatever the case may be. So I've always had an idea up until Monday how Stone Cold has looked. But was it awesome seeing Steve Austin in the ring again? Yes, it was. And I mean, you pretty much knew after the first 90 minutes of Monday's Raw that, oh, okay, so the carrot that they're going to dangle over our heads, as I like to call it, what is that incentive? What's that thing you're going to put over the fans' heads to make them stick around until pretty much the end of the show, right? Okay, they're using Steve Austin. All right, well, you know what? You're going to play it like that. It's a smart freaking move. It means we're pretty much going to be with you all the way till the very end. Thought it was really good placement, and as far as how they executed utilizing Steve Austin and everything. But other than Steve Austin, other than the Bray Wyatt spot with Mick Foley, look, I'm sure if Mick Foley was maybe 5 years younger, I'm sure he would have loved to have sold the Sister Abigail for Bray Wyatt. I would just love to believe, and this is my challenge to my fellow colleagues out there, fellow podcasters, or aspiring podcasters that maybe have luck on their side and they're able to interview Mick Foley in the near future, right? One of the questions I would ask him is, man, that moment that we saw where, you pretty much were fed to Bray Wyatt to help basically build up his feud against Finn Balor at SummerSlam, visually that was pretty awesome what we had saw, but it just seemed like the one thing that was kind of missing a bit was that Sister Abigail, because we're all so used to seeing such a deadly move, especially the way Bray executes it and everything. We know you had recent health issues, right? Yada, 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 yada. If it was the Mick Foley of 5 years ago, would you be so game and taking that move? Or did you at some point try to get cleared by the WWE that night if you could do the Sister Abigail? I'm very curious what Mick would say with regards to that. If he did try to go with the Sister Abigail, but they were against it, or it's just, hey, this is what you're gonna do, don't worry about it, you don't have to sell anything, blah blah blah. I'm very, very curious how the conversation of that had went about. I also got these rumblings, and this is where I need for the Melinas, the Candice Michelles, the Caitlins, this is where I need for them to go on record and clear the air a little bit, because you've got this report that's floating around talking about how a lot of the stars that we had saw on Monday night, they were not medically cleared to wrestle, and that also includes Rikishi, Devon Dudley. So you're like, wait a minute. Well, one of the last times that we saw Devon, he was doing pretty damn good in the WWE. He was wrestling with Bubba Ray and all that good stuff, and I don't remember hearing anything about, during that last stint as a competitor, I don't remember hearing anything about Devon suffering some type of a concussion or injury or anything of that nature. So kind of look at that and I'm going, well, wait a minute. Then you got the silly reports out there. Rikishi couldn't even do his stink face. He couldn't even get medically cleared. So wait a minute, you can't get medically cleared to back your ass up into somebody's... I'm having a hard... My point is, don't believe everything that you're reading and you're seeing. This is another one of those cases. And all I have to say to you guys, just wait about a week. And I'm sure the Rikishis, the Candice Michelles, the Kelly Kellys, and all them people, I'm sure they're going to be given the interviews because they're going to want their 15 minutes of fame, right? It's going to help catapult them into promoting whatever next autograph signings they're going to be doing, whatever projects they're going to be working on, basically whatever they weren't able to talk about on Raw this week. That's what the podcasts are for, right? So give it about a week. I would say, honestly, the next 3 weeks. All these cats that we saw, majority of them should be making their rounds. And, and then for those of you that's like, well, Lee, it's been a good minute since you've had somebody on the show. Any of those cats, anybody you would like to have on your show? There's only one person I would be even like, dude, I so want to talk to her. And no, not Kelly Kelly. I would actually love to talk to Caitlyn. Give me a solid hour with Caitlyn. We would be talking, I guarantee you, we would be talking wrestling, we would be talking music, and we would be talking tattoos. Straight up. That's all I want to talk to her about. It's like that shit, right? So I think she, of all the people, I think she would be a really colorful and fun conversation, right? Because it's not so much interview when I do have people come onto the show. It's more so of a conversation, two people like maybe just kicking back at a bar, having a couple of drinks, just shooting the shit. That's how I always try to treat my, if you want to call it interviews, I always try to treat it more like it's a fucking conversation, if anything. So, yeah, take that with a grain of salt, what you're hearing about some of these people right now, man. But take away the Steve Austin, take away the Bray Wyatt spot there with freaking Mick Foley. What else are you really left with? There really isn't nothing much there. What, are we going to talk about the OC? I had a field day putting a couple of GIFs and stuff online, making fun of that. All the names that's out there. And look, I get it. Bullet Club, I get it. The word bullet, I get that. And shout out to John Draper from Wrestling Soup. I was going back and forth with him and a couple other people about the whole, name of OC. In case you guys don't know, you didn't watch Raw yet. The OC is basically the new stable for AJ Styles, Carl Anderson, and Luke Gallows. And it stands for something along the lines of the original club or whatever, right? Okay, yeah, that's a cute little name. All right. You're like, well, we can't just call you guys the club or the club. Like, we got to go with the OC. We got to go with that crappy ass show that was floating around there a couple of years back. We got to go with that name, because the very first time you put the OC in a Bing or Google search, that stupid little TV show comes up. So, I mean, on the one hand, you can say, hey, it's great that we got a new stable, right? And they got merch. Okay, that's good. You need a Shield replacement there, right? That's good. More revenue you can bring in off of the merchandise. I always say the better, right? Toys, you name it. That works. But, the name, it could use a little bit of work. I'm hoping that maybe it'll get a little bit fine-tuned. We'll see. If there's one thing I did not like, aside from the name, it'll grow on me, right? I'm not going to do like the Viking Experience. I'm not going to do, it's not one of those type of numbers. It's just kind of, really? Like, seriously, give me a 6-pack of beer. Give me about 3 hours. I'll come up with some really cool names. You're welcome, right? But it'll grow on me, and I think it'll grow on everybody else, right? I didn't really see too much outrage out there from folks in the forums and all that. So that's actually a good thing from people I was interacting with. So, I mean, I guess that's a good thing. But if there's one thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, it was, well, wait a minute now. Why are we feeding the OC to DX? Like, seriously, why are we feeding them to DX? I did not like how that had went down. I felt as though, okay, you know what? If anything, why not maybe put a Sami Zayn? Why not put an Elias, right? Why? Come on, there's nobody else that we could have put in that position. That was just, I wasn't feeling that. It rubbed me the wrong way. Didn't like the fact that we had no Ricochet. Not sure what exactly is going on with Ricochet. You got reports floating around that he's dealing with some type of an injury, and pretty much that's why he had the week off. Well, you know what? I don't like assumptions. I don't like rumors. Yeah, I would have preferred to hear it straight from the horse's mouth from Cole and the gang. And you know what? It would have been justified, because we had saw the number that the OC did on Ricochet last week. So if you want to talk about continuity and everything, it really would have been great at one point had you had some type of an explanation from Cole in the game, what was going on with Ricochet, and then maybe put in a buffer. If he's going to be popping up on next week's Raw programming, then put in a little buffer and say sometime during the course of the episode, hey, in a new update, Ricochet is going to be joining us next week, and we can only imagine how he's feeling. What is his response going to be to the events that had happened from last week when he last collided with the OC, right? Club, whatever you want to call them, club crackers, whatever. So I kind of believe in continuity from that standpoint. Also, where was Bobby Lashley? Where was Lacey Evans? No Lacey Evans. Where was Baron Corbin? There you go. You're telling me that you could not have Baron Corbin out there with Sami Zayn or Elias? You couldn't do anything of that nature? Really, really weird how they did that. In just 3 hours you gotta fill, right? And none of these people, Braun Strowman having a random ass match against a created wrestler, just random. I had to do a double take because I said at one point, I'm looking at the TV, I'm going, why is Braun Strowman fighting this created wrestler when we just saw him have a phenomenal match against freaking Bobby Lashley, a great last man standing match? Why are we going back to basics with the created wrestlers, with the enhancement talent? No, if anything, have him in there. And gee, I don't know, man. It's like your roster is so big. You couldn't put anybody else out there. You couldn't put a more legitimate person out there just so you could have a match for like about at least 7 minutes. So, that kind of rubbed me a little bit the wrong way. DX fusing in Seth Rollins, that just seemed like a desperate attempt for, please look at this guy. Isn't this guy great? Isn't he awesome? Isn't this guy over or what? Yeah, where's the continuity with Seth Rollins, by the way? That was really screaming to me from this past Monday. So wait a minute now. Seth Rollins, we saw his woman get the end of days by Baron Corbin, and he just hawked the fuck up. Or out. I mean, it was almost like that one episode of Tom and Jerry, and I think Tom... What was it? I think it was Tom was spanking the hell out of Jerry's cousin or nephew or whatever, Nibbles. And Jerry got so freaking upset that all of a sudden he had like muscles and chests to no freaking end, and he's just coming out of nowhere. And Tom's looking and he's scared shitless, and he starts running and he's trying to claw the wallpaper and everything. He's trying to run from Jerry, and Jerry beats the living bejeebus out of him, right? So that is basically what Seth Rollins had going on for him. He had that Jerry the Mouse Hawk out moment, right? At Extreme Rules. And you don't think to follow that up with a very passionate, very refocused Seth Rollins in ultimately becoming the new number one contender to face Lesnar for the title at SummerSlam. You don't think it to be common sense to have Seth Rollins acknowledge that, hey, this is an opponent that I really cannot take lightly. This is an opponent that I'm fully capable, I'm aware of everything that he has done since he's been back in the WWE this go round, and you have to bring your best A game, because if you are off even by a split hair, Lesnar is going to own you. And there's a reason why when he's held on to these titles a couple of times, why the reign has been as long as it has. He's the very best. I didn't really enjoy seeing a Seth Rollins out there mocking Brock Lesnar, doing the whole silly facial expressions. It literally follows up on the Rollins impersonations I was doing last week. If you remember it from last week, you match it up to the promo that he was spewing out there this week. That promo that he was cutting, I mean, again, rewind it back. He comes out, he's got the nice cool ass guitar theme music, got the little pause, got the burn it down chants, everything is good. But from that point on, it's just pretty much, well, what type of Rollins are we going to get tonight? You know, seriously, what type of Rollins are we going to get tonight? Are we going to get some type of a Rollins that is maybe going to kind of speak from the heart a little bit, that's going to be very passionate, and we're really going to be able to feel him? I mean, I got to tell you something. Other than when Rollins, and I said this, I think, if not on last week's show, the week before or something of that nature, the Rollins I saw that betrayed the Shield, and the Rollins that hulked the fuck out at Extreme Rules was, for me, wow. Personality-wise, some type of a connection. I invested in Rollins. I didn't get anything this past Monday, and it was very heartbreaking to see this. What was even more heartbreaking to see was that, oh, well, in order to get Seth Rollins over once again, we need to have some type of a supporting cast, right? So, past couple of weeks, pretty much ever since things went down at the pay-per-view, there's been no Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch segments. There hasn't been that. Maybe we've seen a couple of pictures on social media from house shows that they've done and everything like that. But as far as the flagship shows, we haven't seen them share any screen time together. Now, for those that's getting ready to say, oh, but WWE.com, there's your first problem right there. .com. Ain't going to be that many people that's going to flock to a website. Just, no. If it's not happening on their TVs, it didn't happen, right? So always remember that. So, you don't have him with Becky Lynch Monday night. You haven't had him with Becky Lynch since the pay-per-view night. And here he is, once again, wallowing on his own. And once again, here to save the day, thank God, Paul Heyman. But then eventually it pretty much bleeds into the OC, and it pretty much bleeds into DX, all in the name of just trying to make Seth Rollins look cool. And I love the picture that's floating around right now of Seth Rollins with this sad little look on his face, while all the DX guys are giving each other high fives and they're hugging and shit. I've seen so many freaking caption this running around. It's not even funny. We got to caption this on the Facebook page and you can go and have some fun. I kicked it off. I basically said, when all of your friends have beaten the airplane mission in Call of Duty 4 except for you. Because literally, that's the face that Seth Rollins is making right there, all right? Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about if you're familiar with the Call of Duty franchise. You pretty much have to go Jack Bauer 24. It's basically like an epilogue mission. You're like on an airplane and you gotta save somebody and you gotta take out as many motherfuckers as you can within a certain time limit. And it is ridiculous. Like, my absolute best score, I think I was able to do it in, I think, 38 seconds or some shit like that. And it ties into an achievement. And for a lot of gamers with that particular title, that's like the very last achievement that they need in order to have a perfect score, right? But there's so many people that do not have it, you know, because of that one fucking achievement. I think if you hit 26 seconds or less or some shit like that, it's been so many years since I've played it. I can't tell you, like, if that's the official number, but I know it's like, it's like, that's ridiculous. How are you able to do it? And there's tutorials all over the place. So and I watched all the tutorials. I mean, I was moving just like the pros in the videos, but no matter what, I could not get the freaking record. I could not get the freaking record. So as soon as I see that image of Seth Rollins just looking on kind of like, oh, what about me? That's like one of the first things that I had freaking thought of. But the other thing, talking about Seth Rollins, you want to talk about night and day. And I had put this out when Steve Austin was out there closing the show and he gave his emotional speech and everything, right? And the one thing that I really took away from it, key point, was when he said how he was talking to somebody. I can't remember who the wrestler was that he was talking to, but he basically had said, man, it's been so long. I don't even know what to say when I come out here. And that person told him, just speak from the heart, right? And what Austin was able to do, I marveled at it. I really did, because here is a man, 54 years of age. And also, while we're talking about 54, happy belated birthday to the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. He turned 54 a couple of days ago, so happy belated birthday. But 54-year-old Stone Cold Steve Austin, here he is, still very recognizable, pretty much has the same build as the last time we saw him wrestle, if not even better, right? And here he is, so many years removed from being an in-ring competitor. And yet this man is able to come in there in just, what was it, 5 minutes? I'll say 7 just to be nice, but it felt more like 5 minutes. He was able to go out there, had the crowd eating in the fucking palm of his hands. Had them eating in the palm of his hands. What you felt last night was charismatic. What you felt was energetic. What you felt was passion. What you ultimately felt was a connection. And I just couldn't help but just take a step back and go, wow. 54-year-old Stone Cold Steve Austin, all these years removed from being an in-ring competitor, this man still has it. He still got him. Meanwhile, you look at 90% of the current roster. They don't have that. They don't have that. And it's a telling tale. And like I said on social media, we've seen Seth Rollins now, from the Performance Center to NXT to the main roster. Like I said on social media, all those points in mind. I just don't know if one day we will see Seth Rollins be able to piece everything together and take it to another level. I'm not saying he's got to be the next Stone Cold. I dare not. I'm saying he's got to be the next John Cena or anything like that. But as far as breaking that glass, I just can't help but say to myself, it feels as though Rollins has reached his peak. He's reached his peak. Now, some people may say, well, do you maybe flip him? Is that maybe the answer? Do you maybe have him go back to being a bad guy again? And I don't even think that's even the answer. I think what we're going to see of him, if he does go the heel route once again, is going to be no different than how it was when he had J&J Security that last go-round. And look, you can remember all the lines that you want when you show up to the arena for your rehearsals and everything. You can remember those, right? You can remember, or the bullet points, right? You could remember the bullet points. But man, I tell you what, you either got that charisma and you got that connection with the crowd to the point that they're eating out of the palm of your hands, or you don't. And sadly, 90% of that roster still does not have it. And sadly, some of these cats, without even diving into names, some of these cats been on the roster for a long time now. And they still have not been able to string it together. Meanwhile, you got cats down in NXT and at the Performance Center that have everything stringed along, showing very promising traits that they can thrive if given the opportunities. But are those opportunities really going to be presented to them? And is it going to be unshackled? Only time is going to tell, man. But for me, as happy as I was to see Steve Austin, it was a painful reminder of one of the major problems that's happening with today's main roster. And don't get it wrong, folks. It is a talented bunch. One of the most talented rosters that WWE has had in quite some time, considering some of the pieces that they've lost over the years. As far as the in-ring goes, it's a talented bunch. But as far as charismatic, energetic, over-the-top, flamboyant characters that really jump out at you from the TVs each and every single week, that's an entirely different story, you know? And it's not a case where you're just being a die-hard Attitude Era fan, a lover. I will be the first to tell you, not everything about the Attitude Era was good. There was a lot of low points, a lot of bad points in the Attitude Era. Some you just kind of go, man, I wish I didn't see that. I can't believe that's forever in the Pro Wrestling Chronicles there, right? Not everything was banging, This is just really strictly about just looking at where the current talent is thriving and where they are lacking, and ways that there needs to be some type of improvement. And I tell you what, if the reports are true that Paul Heyman is trying to push forward for the talents to get away from freaking scripts and just a couple of bullet points and just let the shit fly, right? God, if there's some type of way for these cats to really be able to fill themselves out and take their game to that next level, I really hope that they're able to do that. But I'd also like to make a recommendation for Talking Smack or a show equivalent to that to come back. I mean, that show was really, really helping a lot of talents. It really, 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 really was. But other than that, from Raw this week, really nothing else had came to my mind. Yeah, that was kind of cute what they were doing with the 24/7 title, right? They had to do a first time for everything, right? Kelly becoming the first ever women's 24/7 champion, right? They had to do that, right? It was nice seeing my man Pat Patterson in there, and he gets the freaking title off of Jerry Briscoe. I like that. That was hilarious. Or actually, no, it was actually the other way around. It was actually Pat Patterson that got the title, and then Briscoe ran into him shortly after, if I remember it right. Yeah, so yeah, that was nice. All those little cameos, those were nice. Renee Michelle, though, man, Drake Maverick's wife, my God, she is just beautiful. She really, really, really is beautiful. My God, I'm looking at her, and I'm telling you, man, if you'd have told me a year ago that Drake Maverick would be having the amount of TV time that he's having right now, and he would be over, I mean, that combined with what they're doing with the whole 24/7 title on social media, to the point of what we had made almost a month ago or whatever, or 2 months ago, whenever this title was introduced. I was one of, I'm not saying I was the first, I'm just saying I was one of the first to take to social media and say, you can go back and maybe you could type in RCWR 24/7 title or something like that on Twitter or whatever, but it's definitely there. It was not deleted. I was one of the first people to say, hey, this title, hey, okay, not bad, because honestly, the way you can do this, you can capitalize on social media. Now more than ever, talents are relying on social media to get themselves over, and it seems that WWE wants to try to get certain story arcs over and everything. So having this title will do very well on social media. And I remember there was like a couple of people that were snickering and going, no, that's not the whole point of the title. Mick Foley just said, and it's like a day afterwards, you saw what was going on with the title on social media and how it's just pretty much manifest. It's brilliant. The social marketing team and how they're working with whoever is writing the stuff for the 24/7 title. I think it's awesome. I really think it's awesome what's been going on with that. And given the position of where Drake Maverick is right now, it's like fucking Drake Maverick is the new James Ellsworth 2.0, only he's better looking and he doesn't have the scandalous, taboo shit that's attached to him. Wink, wink, okay? So awesome. And he has a hot ass smoking, good looking wife. I mean, you can't beat that. Okay, so he's short. Well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So fucking what, right? He's a short guy, probably, counting his money, counting them Benjamins like Donald Duck, and he's got a beautiful woman wrapped around his arm. Life is good, right? Life is fucking good for fucking Drake Maverick. But no, seriously, man, I would love to see a little bit more of Renee Michelle in the coming months. I would love to see her do some more valet work, man. I'm serious like a heart attack. I would love to see her do more valet work because I think that's the one thing that WWE is kind of lacking in, man, is the managers. I mean, at least when I was growing up, that was it, man. That was it. It was about the fucking referees, man. I'm sorry, not the referees, but it was about the fucking managers. Percy Pringle, fucking Brother Love, Mr. Fuji. And they don't do them like they used to, man. Jimmy Hart, it ain't like how it used to be. Jim Cornette, it ain't how it used to be, man. That's been a dying breed these last several years. And, that's actually one of the things that made such a quick bond between me and my best friend, Titus Machiavelli. Shout out to you, buddy. Evil genius of professional wrestling. He's been involved in the wrestling business for a couple of decades now. Is the fact that, what he does as a manager is that's one of the talking points that made us connect instantly back when he was taking part in the TNA gut check. He was the only manager to enter the gut check. And it was like, whoa, say what? And I was looking at some of his vignettes, looking at some of promotional stuff and everything, and I'm like, oh man, this dude's the shit. Like, if anybody can make managers make a comeback, right? James Mitchell, like, oh yeah, Titus is the fucking man. I would love to see WWE make some type of a conscious effort to go back to the managers, man. That's why I like what I'm seeing with Zelina Vega. For what it was worth, even though I thought it was a little bit of a mismatch that you had Drake Maverick with AOP. By the way, we haven't seen AOP God knows how long, right? That's been a long time now since we've seen him. But for what it was worth, I liked the little bit of stuff that I was seeing as far as giving managers a chance and all that. We had Smackdown. Went off the air not too long ago. Not really much you can take away from Smackdown this week. Other than the fact that Kevin Owens had issued that challenge to Shane McMahon, a match at SummerSlam. Shane did accept, pretty much telling him, hey, look, I'm not only going to beat you, but I'm going to make you quit the WWE. And apparently there's going to be some paperwork drawn up or whatever. And basically, if Kevin Owens loses this match against Shane McMahon at SummerSlam, Kevin Owens must quit the WWE. Also, main takeaway from tonight's SmackDown is Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. They're going to be getting a title shot opportunity against the Iconics next week. It's going to be for those women's tag titles. So that should be kind of interesting to see right there. Wonder if maybe the way things end next week, if the Kabuki Warriors are somehow going to get involved in that, if maybe they might be sitting at ringside with Paige. Paige is pretty much doing most of the talking for the girls. Somehow the Iconics come on over, right? Looney Tunes fucking moment, right? And somehow the girls are able to escape with their titles once again. Some type of a disqualification. Basically, my gist, triple threat match for the women's tag titles between all three of those teams. It kind of sounds to me like maybe that's the direction that it could possibly go. Another takeaway from tonight's SmackDown, Orton, Kofi Kingston. Looks like it's on because Kofi Kingston had officially challenged Randy Orton to face him at SummerSlam for the WWE title. Of course, though, we got the Nashville event that's going to be happening. Is it this weekend? I think it's this weekend on the WWE Network. The Smackville. And I polled my girl. I said, do you know why it's called Smackville? She goes, because it's happening in Nashville. said, damn, you're smart. She goes, yeah. I was able to get two and two together from the first time I saw it Monday night when they first promoted it. And I looked at the graphic design and I just put two and two together. I didn't even hear them say Nashville. It's like, oh, okay, you know your shit. That's cool. I stress that because the name is catching a little bit of flack from people on social media. Quit being the dick. That's my message. Quit being the dicks. Like, seriously. Like, what do you expect? You know, they're in Nashville, so there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a cool name. I'm more interested in the matches that's going to be happening, right? That's what I'm more interested in. And the current card for this, by the way, let me actually see if I can give you guys the current card for this event that's going to be coming up here. And again, it's going to be streaming on the WWE network, so you can't beat that. Looks like it's going to be happening at the Bridgestone Arena out in Nashville, Tennessee. Right now, there's only 3 matches, and supposedly this is going to be an hour-long special. Right now, we got Shinsuke Nakamura defending the IC title against Finn Balor. You can't help but wonder how much of a factor, if at all, Finn Balor is going to be in that. We did get a nice little spot there with Finn Balor as he was being interviewed in the ring about the attack that Bray Wyatt did to him and Mick Foley within the past 10 days. We also basically saw it lead up to Bray Wyatt appearing in a Firehouse Playhouse segment, basically on the Titantron, saying, you guys got to help me because I forget how he phrased it, but he did not say, and I thought that was very interesting, he did not say to Finn Balor, I accept your challenge. He referred to that dark persona side. I forgot the term he used or whatever, but basically it was along the lines of he accepted. So it's almost like the way Bray, and I think it's fucking brilliant, the way that this is being approached is Bray, the fun, oh, look at me, I mean no harm, is doing his thing, and he is aware of this evil, demonic character that has its own respected name, apparently, and that's about as far as it goes. It's like, I think that's very, very interesting how they're doing that, because for the longest time, what I've been wanting to happen, and I've been saying this on the show for a long time listeners know this, I have been wanting for Finn Balor to basically go Marvel Comics Sleepwalker, right? I've been wanting him to kind of almost go that split personality route. And for those of you that don't know anything about Marvel Comics Sleepwalker, Google that bitch, okay? It's worth reading, but when you basically are done reading the bio for what the Sleepwalker comic is about, you'll get what I say when I keep telling you, hey, I thought maybe they would go this route with the Finn Balor character. But it seems now we're taking kind of like that concept, and we're basically taking that concept and applying it to Bray Wyatt, with the exception of we're not doing a subconscious thing where Bray Wyatt is aware of what his evil persona is doing and vice versa. It's almost like, no, these two people, hey, he does what he does, and, oh my God, I'm so sorry for you. I'm sorry he did that, right? So I think it's a very interesting dynamic that's going on. I like it. I love it. I want more. Now, my whole deal is we got a couple of weeks to go until SummerSlam. Is Bray Wyatt in these mind games? Is he going to push Finn Balor to the brink where he goes, I've got to bring out the demon? Because remember, the demon is undefeated. Whenever Finn Balor taps to the demon, he's undefeated. So are we going to get a case where it's going to be demon versus this dark monster, this dark sadistic monster in Wyatt? And if so, my God, I would like to believe that by default, you got to give Bray the W. You've spent all this time building him up, doing these Firehouse segments and all that. I'd like to believe that you got to pull the trigger and you got to make sure it's off and running. The Fiend, thank you, Austin. He called it the Fiend. That's what he referred it to on Smackdown tonight, the Fiend. So rather than say, I accept your challenge, or he goes, Finn, I heard from the Fiend, and the Fiend said he'll accept, so I think that's really, really cool. My only advice to WWE, if you ever get an opportunity to have a Michael Cole or whoever visit Bray Wyatt at the Funhouse for an interview, you got to somehow work in there, hey, your blah, blah, blah sadistic persona, da, 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 da. You got to have Bray counter right back and go, what are you talking about? What split personality? What persona? I'm me as you see me right now. No, the Fiend, he does his own thing. We are completely two separate individuals. He needs to go in that direction. That would be freaking badass. You got to play it that way. You got to play it that way. But yeah, again, Shinsuke Nakamura taking on Finn Balor for the IC title at Smackville this weekend. How much of a factor is Bray Wyatt going to play in that, if at all? Or The Fiend? Bayley is going to defend her SmackDown Women's title against Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. How much of a factor will Amber Moon play into that, if at all, right? Kofi Kingston will be defending the WWE Championship against Samoa Joe and Dolph Ziggler. If Kofi Kingston successfully retains the title at Smackville, then all eyes are now set on Randy Orton, right? So I'm looking forward to it. Again, it's only going to be an hour long. I'm going to check it out. As far as whether or not there's going to be a post show on it, I don't know just yet. I really don't know just yet. So we'll wait and see. Any gimmick matches that I would like to see at SummerSlam? Well, I just told you one. I would love to see the Fiend take on the Demon. So, that off the break, that's one I'd like to see. Honestly, of all the matches, that's actually the one match I want to see right now. Because when you look at the SummerSlam card that's coming up so far, and this is the card right now. I know a couple of more matches are going to be added, but this is the card so far. Finn Balor, Bray Wyatt, Kofi Kingston, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, Shane McMahon. There's your other gimmick match right there. I mean, if I can have it my way and it's the Fiend versus the Demon, that's great. But then your second gimmick match, Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon. If Owens loses, he has to quit the WWE. Bayley versus Amber Moon for the SmackDown Women's title. I am fine without that being a gimmick match. Becky Lynch versus Natalya for the Raw Women's title. I'm fine with that not being a gimmick match. Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship. I mean, these guys have a well-documented feud against each other. I don't know, maybe you make that be a Canadian street fight. But at the same time, do you really want to kind of follow up on what Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley did at Extreme Rules? I don't really think so. So maybe, just maybe, you do some type of a no disqualification, hardcore match or whatever. Usually when it comes to the Lesnar matches, that's what they probably will do anyway, right? So, I mean, for me, as far as gimmicks go, there's really nothing I really want to see. I think the real question that should be asked is, what gimmick match would get you most excited if it could be pulled off at SummerSlam? And for me, it would definitely be the Demon versus the Fiend. God, we've talked about The Miz so many times over the years. I see a question about, will Miz ever get a World Championship run again or a Universal Championship run? I'm not Houdini. I am not Houdini. I have been on this show. I've been an advocate for Miz. I've been an advocate for Miz since the Tough Enough show. And he was hosting it when Tough Enough had went off and he was doing the post-Tough Enough talk show. I was putting him over back then. I was putting him over during Talking Smack. It's great what Miz has been able to do with the opportunities that has been provided to him, and has got him to the point where he has a great hit series on USA, which reminds me, got to make sure I record the encore. I meant to record the season premiere. What is it? I think season 3 now of Ms. and Mrs. I meant to record that, but I got to catch the encore. I love that show. Love that show. Miz seems totally fucking cool, very down to earth. Maurice, she seems very, some people may kind of look at her and go, she's kind of bourgeois or whatever, but she doesn't come off that way at all. When you watch her on the show and everything, she comes off very down to earth. Somebody you could, actually see yourself if you're walking down the street and you run into her and you say hello or whatever. She legitimately seems like the type that will give you the time and day, say hello right back and chat with you for a couple of minutes, unlike some celebrities or whatnot, or professional athletes. So, I'm not Houdini. I don't have a crystal ball. The only thing I can tell you is my personal preference of certain talents that I would like to see happen and everything. And I mean, it wouldn't be fair to go down that rabbit's hole again, because longtime listeners, they've been with me. They know how I feel passionately about The Miz and everything. To the point, I'm pretty sure there's been a couple of YouTube clips we've done over the years. And at some point, we did a little something talking about The Miz. So, for me, I could say till I'm blue in the face all I want why I feel Miz should be a champion, but whether or not the powers that be pulls the trigger and does it remains to be seen, right? But I think we all can definitely find some type of common ground and be in agreement. Those opportunities that's been given to Miz these past couple of years, he's really been doing a phenomenal job for sure. Let's keep going because we got a lot more show to go. I see we're about an hour into the show right now. I got a lot more topics I want to get into, so I'll kind of acknowledge some of the things that you guys are saying in the chat. But this is a heavy loaded episode, and I don't want to be going towards midnight tonight. So I want to try to be done with the show as quick as possible. So let's have at it. Let's go ahead. Let's keep on rocking and rolling. Before we dive any further into the show, I do want to recognize some of our, one more time, little, how do you pronounce your name? Fettuccine? Little Fettuccine. We're not going to get into TakeOver and SummerSlam picks, not until the week of. This is my first time seeing you, so welcome. I appreciate you checking out the show. But typically the way the show works is when you go into the chat, interact mostly with the people that you see in the chat. You can kind of go back and forth with them. And typically what I'll do, unless it's a relative point that ties into a particular topic that I'm bringing up, kind of like earlier, I needed help rejogging my memory on an AEW show, and we had Austin jump in that way. Or if maybe I just said something about the Smackville and maybe somebody in the chat says, oh yeah, don't forget blah, 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 blah. That's typically how the show works. But, just kick back. You can interact with everybody else. I definitely try to show love to comments once the show is over. I kind of do it that way because there's a lot of topics we got to dive into, and I like to just kind of rapid fire. So, no, it's no problem. It's just you're new, so you only know when we tell you, so it's all good. Hey, I do want to give a shout out to our Patreon members. Our Patreon members, they're one of the heartbeats, combined with some of the sponsors that we get to work with from time to time. They make content like what you're checking out right now be made possible at no charge to you whatsoever. Show expenses, man, I'm telling you, shit adds up. Shit adds up. Somebody had asked me the other day, dude, how come you don't have a subscription to blah, 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 blah? I said, well, shit, man, wedding, and then I got to plan a honeymoon. I'm paying for my Invisalign treatments. I'm paying for not one, not two, but 3 car insurances, right? And that's just for starters. I haven't even talked about the show expenses for the podcast. It's like, shit. I was like, yeah, it's crazy. So what our Patreon and our sponsors do, it's a godsend, man. It really, really is, man. It's a godsend. Love these guys. Again, our advertisers, our sponsors, and our Patreon members collectively, they help us out, man. So shout out to all of them. Particularly shout out to our Patreon members. Anthony Missionary Thomas of Wrestling Sue. Shout out to Joe Raymond Jr. Joe. Shout out to my good buddy Sean Kenter. Shout out to Justin Rabach. Shout out to Freddie. Shout out to Michael Wolf. Shout out to John Davis. And a special shout out to Tony Bing Gaming. If you guys are big fans of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, you're fans of Marvel Strike Force, you're fans of the upcoming Marvel Super War, it is a MOBA game, you're fans of all of that stuff, do yourselves a favor, check out Tony Bing Gaming. He's on YouTube. He's got an awesome kick-ass channel. Right now, last I peeped him out, he was doing a couple of unlocked videos for Ultimate Alliance 3. I think he literally just unlocked Thanos. So, you know, I'm jealous, Tony, because, I mean, you guys are getting the love for the Nintendo over there. And I've been waiting patiently for Alliance 3 to hit my respected game console, right? Now, that ain't gonna make me want to go get a damn Nintendo. You can forget that shit. That ain't happening, right? At some point, I like to believe there's going to be a version that's going to come on over. But Tony Bing is the man. He gives great tutorials, walkthroughs, strategy guides, little news tidbits. He gets access to stuff usually weeks or a couple of months before shit comes out. So show him a lot of love. He's got a Patreon as well. For those of you interested in the Patreon, patreon.com, I think it's Tony Bing Gaming. But show us some love too while you're at it. Patreon.com/RCWR Show. I just put up a new 30 with Lee episode. I am reviewing from 1947, The Red House, otherwise known as No Trespassing, starring the great, the phenomenal Edward G. Robinson. It's a great psychological thriller. And this week, I think Thursday, we're going to sit down, record, and we're going to drop it. But me and Tammy are going to be doing a special deluxe episode of 30 with Lee, really tackling a big bulk of the news that had came about from the San Diego Comic-Con with regards to Marvel Phase 4 and Marvel Incorporated stuff happening with Disney Plus, of course, Blade. I mean, we're diving into a whole bunch of shit on there, so check that out. That's going to be fucking awesome. Loving that. Let's get into a couple of more topics here. So let's stick to wrestling for just a little bit longer. Tony Schiavone, he's been making the headlines a little bit. You know him as one of the announcers from MLW. Well, he's caught in I guess you kind of say he's a little bit in the hot seat right now, right? Because Kurt Bauer, guy that's over there running MLW and everything, it was basically brought to his attention as a result of reading the Wrestling Observer newsletter that freaking Tony Schiavone had did a video for AEW. And you guys, you know how they do the Being the Elite series. Now, it's a great web series. I love what they're doing over there. But Tony Schiavone, you remember he did, right before Fight for the Fallen, he did the video package there. I won't say he did, but I think the better choice of words to use is he was part of a video package that was putting over the Rhodes brothers taking on the Young Bucks at AEW's Fight for the Fallen. And then before that, he was in the Road to All Out. He was on an episode of that. So you're seeing all of that and you're going, wait a minute, what exactly is going on here? Now, Observer, till you hear from Tony Schiavone otherwise, you're hearing, hey, he signed a multi-year deal. But you got Observer saying that he's under a 2-year agreement. So either way, he's under some type of a contractual obligation to MLW. And Kurt Bauer was said to be pretty upset about that and said, hey, look, you know, AEW, they didn't come to me. They ain't come to nobody and try to ask for permission. What the hell's going on here? So as far as Kurt Bauer is concerned, you got to get that permission. You want Tony Schiavone or anybody else, you got to get the permission. And I can totally, legitimately feel where Kurt Bauer is coming from because he's practically losing MJF. MJF was buttering up his bread in MLW, right? And a couple other cats as well, right? And so he's seeing what's going on. And I'm sure it's kind of rubbing him the wrong way, right? And a fan actually had asked Tony Schiavone on social media, hey, so are you now working for AEW or what? Like, what exactly is going on here? And Tony Schiavone said, no, I'm just helping out a friend. That's all I'm doing. But it still creates a conflict of interest. And, this is where I'm kind of devil's advocate a little bit, because on the one hand, you're going, well, good God, they haven't used Tony Schiavone in a good minute. They're alternating color commentators right now. I forget who the other guy is, but I know you got one guy that's usually paired up with Jim Cornette, and then they use Jim Cornette for a little bit, and then they swap Cornette out, and then they have Schiavone come back in, but that one guy is like always consistent, right? So it's like, okay, well, that's kind of cool how you're doing it. They did switch up on when they were taping the MLW shows. And I know originally it was working out really good for Schiavone's schedule, because remember, he spent all of the years prior to even getting into podcasting, getting back into pro wrestling and everything. He's been doing color commentating for baseball games and all that. So, that's been his passion. That's been his drive. That's basically been where his bread and butter is, right? And so it's almost kind of like he fell in love, so to speak, with wrestling all over again, right? But to a degree, it's not a full, I'm going to dunk both feet in the water of pro wrestling, right? But, he's got one foot in this and then he's got another foot in that. So it's a very interesting dynamic that's going on right now, because before they switched up on the tapings, Schiavone was doing his thing. But now that they've switched it up, it's basically created a conflict with his other obligations. So it's an interesting dynamic, interesting story that's going on. You would like to believe in something that I think that the most reputable wrestling websites need to really establish. I'm looking at you, Fightful. I'm looking at you, Pro Wrestling Sheet. I'm looking at you, Dave Meltzer. I think one of the things that these guys need to do is go directly to Tony Schiavone and Kurt Bauer and say, hey, so in light of what had came about recently with Bauer not finding out what Schiavone was doing until he basically read it here, what steps have been taken? Has Bauer talked to Schiavone, and do they now have some type of an understanding with one another? Everybody is reporting the same thing since the story broke out, but nobody is reporting or even asking the question if the two have sat down and if everything is now squared away, right? I mean, you pretty much put everything else out there. So at this point, you might as well go that extra mile and, hey, just a follow-up. What's up? What's the 411? So I have to wait and see what's going on with that. But that was kind of interesting what was happening with that. Also, talking about MLW, Tony Schiavone, AEW, and all that. Nice little segue. There's going to be a first ever Jon Moxley taking on Pentagon Jr. That's going to stream live on the High Spots Wrestling Network for its subscribers. The match will headline Northeast Wrestling's Prison Break event. Why am I thinking Prison Bake? That would be one interesting. Hey, where you going? I'm going to the Prison Bake. Oh, well, what are you going to get there? Man, they're going to have these nice, sweet, delicious Rice Krispie treats with sweet little marshmallows in it and a bit of Skittles. It's like, okay. You've got to try the chocolate fudge brownies. They are to die for. It's going to be at the Prison Bake. You going? Girl, you know I'm going. All right, anyway. Prison Break event is going to be happening on Friday, August the 16th from the Mid-Hudson Civic Center in New York. I think I might actually check that out. Talking about AEW All Out takes place Saturday, August 31st. We talked about that at the very top. It's going to be happening at the sold-out Sears Center Arena. near Chicago. New match has been added. We got a triple threat match. Darby Allin taking on Joey Janela, taking on Jimmy Havoc. That's your triple threat. That is added on top of the following card. I like to give you guys a new updated card when I can, every couple of weeks. AEW World Heavyweight title match. Chris Jericho versus Hangman Page. Let me clarify. Adam Page, not the other Page. Dirty mind. Also, we have what is this? A ladder of murder match? Is that what they're trying to say? Escalera de la Muerte. I don't know if I said that right. For the AAA World Tag Team titles, Young Bucks taking on the Lucha Brothers. Lucha Brothers are defending those AAA titles. Jon Moxley takes on Kenny Omega. Cody Rhodes. You like how I saved that one? Cody Rhodes takes on Shawn Spears. That being the Elite Series and the road to All Out, I love what they're doing. They did a new episode where it's revealed Tully Blanchard is like basically an advisor / manager to Shawn Spears. I think that's fucking badass. It's fucking badass. I love that. Who else to manage a guy like Shawn Spears? Who knows talent than a guy like Tully Blanchard, right? I mean, that's awesome. That's awesome. The Best Friends versus the Dark Order. Winner receives a first round bye in the AEW World Tag. Okay. Was that Tag Team Tournament, I think that is. Also, talking AEW, StarCast. We didn't talk about this last week because when it went down, I think we were a day or two removed from being on the air. CM Punk was announced for StarCast 3. I don't know what's going on. I was talking to my good buddy Missionary Thomas about it. Like, dude, are you going? You gotta go. You gotta cover it. We gotta get that unbiased takeaway, man. We need somebody to give it to us raw, give it to us uncensored, and tag you're it, buddy. He's not really sure if he's going. I am still a bit on the fence, and the reason why I'm a bit on the fence, part of me wants to go because it would give me an opportunity to hang out with Mish and a couple of other people. So, that'd be great. And then I would love to just be on the StarCast floor and just really get a good feel for how everything is going on. They say third time is the charm. The past couple of StarCast events hasn't gone that good. You know it's bad when you have somebody that works in public relations or you have an event planner that is saying, yeah, these things, no mas, no bueno, not good at all, right? So I would like to believe that the third time is the charm. The kinks have really been ironed out and everything. But if I were to go, it would be a case where the schedule is like fucking ridiculous. Because I'm not interested in doing all 3 or 4 days at StarCast. I would only be interested in doing the one day where CM Punk is going to be there and he's doing a 90-minute Q&A. I believe he's going to be doing it Saturday. So I would be more interested in doing that. But then here's where a new development comes into place. I'm not sure how many of you all are aware of this, and maybe you kind of have the same dilemma like me, and you're like, I think I want to go to StarCast, right? Well, StarCast is going to be streaming on Fight TV. And they only want $40. Now, that does not get you access to the pay-per-view. Keep that in mind. But the $40 gets you access to StarCast weekend. So you can pretty much just look at your tablet or whatever, look at the itinerary, and you could be like, do I want to watch that? Either way, you paid your $40. So you could just pretty much tune in when you want, right? And so Fight TV have already made the announcement that CM Punk's Q&A, you'll be able to watch it as part of that $40. So it's kind of like, comfort of my own home, I get to see the CM Punk thing, right? Because if you were to put me to the fire and say, well, Lee, isn't there some people whose autographs you want to get? Jerry Lawler's going to be there. I've already got that and a photo op. Jim Ross is going to be there. I already got that and a photo op. Jon Moxley, I think, wants $169 for his autograph and photo op. A little too pricey for me. I'll have to respectfully pass on that. If that was maybe a Undertaker or a Kane or a Roman Reigns or a John Cena, okay. But a Jon Moxley, that price needs to come down a little bit. I think would be a bit more fair is maybe 100. I mean, I don't know. That for me, that sounds a bit way too high. I mean, riddle me this. If anybody should be charging the most, it should be Cody, right? Even though he's doing what he's doing for charity, Cody, when I was looking at the StarCast pricing, Cody has the cheapest meet and greet with Pharaoh. He only wants $50. $50, you get to do a meet and greet, take a photo with him and Pharaoh, and all the money is going towards Paws in Chicago. It's helping basically displaced pets and all that, helping them find homes and all that shit, right? So the money's going towards a worthy cause, but you would have thought that, like, if anybody was maybe going to be second highest or third highest, it would be Cody. But no, it looks like right now, last I checked, unless there's been a new update, last I had saw it was Jon Moxley that was the highest. So I mean, who else is on there? Like, I looked at the list and I'm like, yeah, sadly none of these people, I don't want their autographs. It's nothing personal. I don't hate their guts or anything like that. It's just, if I had the money, boom, Lee, here you go, $1,000 to spend at StarCast, have at it. Yeah, it ain't happening. It's not happening, sadly. Like, I think if anything, I would probably, something that I wanted to do the last couple of times that Jerry Lawler was at AwesomeCon and I did not get a chance to do it, like, I would be so at Jerry Lawler's booth buying some of his artwork. Because to see his artwork up close and personal, I mean, what you see on his DVD special, what you may see of what he shares on social media doesn't do it justice. To actually hold the shit in your hands and, you basically got the original artwork and or prints. Oh my God, it doesn't beat that experience. And you're talking to somebody that's an artist themselves. So for me, I love showing that love to fellow artists. So I probably would be spending a big bulk of my money picking up artwork from Jerry. If Rob Schamberger was there, I'd probably pick up a couple of things from him, stuff like that. So, it's kind of like, and then I know that I could probably see these guys back around my respective way and the prices would be much lower. Now, unless somebody wants to research and provide us with a new update, it looks as though CM Punk's prices has not been revealed yet. And this was something I was telling Mish about. I said, dude, Punk's prices, last I checked, unless I'm missing something, his prices have not been revealed yet. So that's where I'm really, really concerned right now, because I'm wondering, well, how much of a what's the right word I'm looking for? I mean, look, not me, but how people are calling and dubbing Conrad Thompson. They're basically calling him Conman Thompson. Not my words. That's what some people are saying on social media. Some people are kind of going, oh man, he's going to be asking for a shitload of money off of CM Punk. Get ready, here it comes. And I just want to give everybody a heads up right now with regards to CM Punk. I know CM Punk usually does one big signing once a year. And it's been very consistent with how he's been operating post WWE. It's been very consistent, okay? I want you guys to keep in mind, when I went out there to Chicago last year, Pro Wrestling Tees store for the CM Punk meet and greet, you could not beat the deals that CM Punk had going on. It was basically $80 was the combo. $80 got you a photo op, it got you an autograph, and it got you access to a free exclusive CM Punk t-shirt. Now, it was just one particular design that was part of that whole combo, basically. Okay? Now, if you didn't do the combo and maybe you I just want to get a photograph with the man. I just want to get an autograph with the man. Then it was basically, I think, $40 or $50, something of that nature. Okay? So keep that in mind whenever the prices is announced at StarCast for CM Punk, right? Remember, $80, pretty much just down the street. In Chicago, just down the street last year, it was $80. So I can only imagine how much Conrad is maybe going to try to command, because he knows, oh, hey, I got something hot right here. I would not be shocked if Conrad tried to ask for anywhere from $150 to maybe $250. I would not be surprised. I would not be fucking surprised whatsoever. So you have been warned. As soon as that ticket pricing information comes about, I'll definitely share it with you guys. But yeah, that's my dilemma right now. You know, it's basically like, okay, so grand total, just to be able to go out there for basically a day just to see the fucking Q&A, because that's really what I'd be going out there for. Hang out with friends too, but, you know, one day Q&A, and then next day haul my ass right back home. I would probably lose easily about $700 to $800 just for basically 2, maybe 3 days, and not really have that much to show for it. I don't know. I'm sure some people are having that same kind of dilemma that I'm having right now. To each its own. Congrats to Viceland as the Dark Side of the Ring series. This is a series that I talked about passionately right along with the wrestlers, also on Viceland. Viceland has renewed Dark Side of the Ring for season 2. Instead of it being 6 episodes this coming season, they're upping it to 10 episodes. So I'm ecstatic for that. True story, not to get sidetracked, but there is sadly a lost interview that may never see the light of day. I was interviewing Dark Side of the Ring's executive producer Evan Husney, and sadly there was severe audio issues at my end, and my audio, when it's all said and done, my side of the conversation was not recorded, and Evan's side was recorded. And so sadly, that is like a lost fucking conversation. It was weird because there was some new software that I was playing around with, and just when I thought it was going to be rather easy for me to record the conversation and everything, once in a while we'll get guests on the show. You know, we tell them, okay, hey, this is how we're going to be conducting the conversation. Sometimes we'll get guests that they don't feel comfortable putting out their number. They want to try another method, and, you know, they don't want to say no. And okay, they're giving us their time after all. So try to abide by them and everything. So it was a new learning curve. It always happens. But hopefully, you know, once season 2 comes around, hopefully a scenario can come about where we can sit down with Evan once again, or somebody else from Dark Side of the Ring, and pretty much redeem ourselves for the unfortunate fumble that had happened. But yeah, that is a lost conversation. That is a lost guest interview. AAA is going to be bringing to Madison Square Garden on September 15th their AAA Invading New York. Again, it's going to be happening at Madison Square Garden. It's going to start at 6 p.m. Eastern. So as it gets a little bit closer, we'll have a look at that card. Also, AAA is going to be invading the Los Angeles area on October the 13th at the Forum in Los Angeles. So FYI for you there, for those of you that are looking for some alternatives there. Again, when both of those cards get a little bit closer, we'll definitely look into the matches and all that. Congrats to Impact Wrestling. Actually, let me back up a second. Aside from giving congrats to Impact Wrestling, I want to give congrats to Raw for this week. See, I told you guys, whenever Raw is doing something good, whether it's the ratings or whatever, we'll give them the praise. No problem. See, a lot of people think, oh, we're just on the negatives. It's always the Debbie Downers. We're always picking apart. And no, when something good happens, we'll definitely give the praise as well, right? I just said it was nice seeing some of the old stars from yesterday, right? I just said that, right? At the top. Congrats to WWE and the RAW Reunion for this week. The RAW Reunion had made a significant boost in the ratings. It basically went up, I think, almost 27%. It was their first time in 11 months that they had an episode of Raw that was over 3 million viewers. So, I mean, that's phenomenal. They had a 1.11 cable rating, basically, among the 18 to 49 demographic. So, I mean, congrats. But see, now, the bigger question, and I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, I'm just giving you guys cold hard reality check here, which is, okay, that's great that you got the ratings up by 26, 27%. But the next week, that's where it's most critical. Now, that 26% isn't going to drop all the way down to freaking 7% or 6% or anything like that. But how much of that percentage can you maintain going into the next episode and pretty much riding it out through SummerSlam, post SummerSlam? That's where the real challenge lies in itself. So we'll have to wait and see how that comes about. But, if I were to give a bold prediction right now, I'm going to say next Monday's Raw rating, I'm going to say it's probably going to be down maybe, I'll say it's probably going to be down 10%. 10%. If it's any higher than that, wow, is all I got to say. I'd be very, very shocked. But congrats this week. That's next week we're talking about. This week, congrats to WWE for having Raw crack 3-point-something million. Been a good minute now. Again, 11 months. Impact Wrestling, congrats to Impact Wrestling. They've announced that they've extended their deal with Twitch. They're going to be bringing even more original programming. They're going to be doing even more weekly shows, pre-shows, live shows, everything that you've been seeing that's been coming about with Impact on Twitch so far. There's going to be even more added on. That's great, but I think the number one issue that most people that still give a damn about Impact Wrestling and have been liking what they've been seeing from the product these past couple of months, what they really care about is give us officially the skinny on what's going on with this potential deal with Access TV. Is it going to happen? What's going on? Curious minds want to know. What's up? Also, Impact Wrestling, they've confirmed that there is going to be, and I can't believe that they're already doing this. I'd have thought that maybe we would see this at Bound for Glory, but no. They've already announced that Tessa Blanchard, Sami Callihan 2 is going to be happening. And this match has a very interesting stipulation that's at play, because whoever wins this match is going to be the new number one contender to face the Impact World Champion. You heard me right. Whoever wins this match between Tessa Blanchard and Sami Callihan will become the new number one contender to face the Impact World Champion. They're going to be fighting at the August 2nd Unbreakable event. Again, the August 2nd Unbreakable event. I think when next week rolls around, we'll go ahead, we'll take a look at that card and pretty much go from there. Also, this weekend that WWE is going to be doing the Smackville event. Well, this weekend, they're also going to be doing a special Big Show documentary. I think it's only going to be about an hour, maybe about an hour 15 long. They're pretty much going to look at his God, how long has he been at it now? I think he's been at it for like 25 years, almost 30 years or whatever. So basically, Big Show is going to be sitting down and reflecting on his entire wrestling career. Going to show some high points, some low points and all that. And something that I found that was really interesting as I was reading the synopsis for this upcoming special on the Big Show And that's, the last time that we had saw Big Show in the ring, actually having a match and everything, you got to rewind it back to November the 18th, I believe, or November 8th. But basically, you got to rewind it back to November of 2018. That was the very last time that Big Show was in the ring. And we pretty much haven't heard a peep out of him since. And you do a Raw reunion and no Big Show. No sign of Big Show anywhere. No Kane for that matter. I mean, we'd be here all night just going over the people that did not show up for the Raw reunion that, hey, would have been nice to see them. But, yeah, hey, it is what it is. So, again, that Big Show special, that's going to be airing on the network. It's going to air right after the Smackville network special concludes. All right. So, you got yourself a nice little 2-3 hour block of some good wrestling programming. I'm definitely going to be checking that out. I'm looking most forward to it. And also, just trying to see here, going through my notes here. Yeah, so you know what? That's it for wrestling related topics. There's some non-wrestling related stuff I want to get into here. One, you fans of John Carpenter and you still collect graphic novels and comics and all that, peep this out. John Carpenter is going to be doing a special graphic novel about the Joker. This is pretty much like a one-off. It's going to be hitting stores everywhere this October, so it almost kind of coincides with when that Joker movie is going to be dropping, starring Raquan Phoenix. I'm looking forward to that movie, by the way. That shit looks like it's going to be killer fucking good. I got the synopsis for this Joker graphic novel that John Carpenter is going to be writing. Basically, the year of the villain. That's pretty much what it's about. That's the name of it. It centers on Lex Luthor recruiting various DC villains, and the plot synopsis: the Joker is the greatest villain in comics. See, hang on here. Wait a minute. Where's my synopsis? Hang on, guys. No. That was your synopsis. I already read it to you. Centers around Lex Luthor recruiting various DC villains. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, there's got to be more than that. No, that I call bullshit buzzer on that one. Hang on here. I call bullshit. I could have sworn there was a lot more to that freaking synopsis here. Hang on a second here, guys. Joker, and I'll just say John Carpenter. I could have sworn there was a lot more synopsis than that. See here. Yeah, this is going to be a 40-page one-off issue. It's going to tie into the ongoing Villain of the Year storyline that DC had announced. Anthony Birch, who's the writer for the video games League of Legends and Borderlands 2, will co-write, with Philip Tan and Mark Deering providing the artwork. Okay, here's the full concept. I knew something was wrong right here. Okay, as far as the full synopsis or whatever, the year of the villain, which crosses over the majority of series set in the DC universe of Batman, Superman, and Justice League, sees Lex Luthor, now a genetically engineered human/Martian hybrid, making offers to a number of supervillains to fully embrace evil in exchange for the ability to achieve their wildest dreams. Meanwhile, the Joker isn't waiting for Luthor to show up. However, in the special issue, he'll set out to ensure that he proves he's the worst villain of all unassisted. Will he accomplish it? Perhaps so. Have to wait and see. So, I'm actually looking forward to that. I actually want to check that out. That actually sounds like it's going to be pretty fucking badass. So, I think we'll review that for sure on a future episode. No doubt about that. Also, I want to give a shout out to former Daily Show host Jon Stewart. You know, something that has been very near and dear to his heart for a lot of years. It definitely had affected us everywhere in America when we had heard about this, and it's a story that most of us have been following for many, many years now, which is, sadly, the events of 9/11 when it had went down. EMTs, first responders, they went out there unselfishly, um, going out and just trying to do what they could to save as many lives as they could. And we know that health wise, they were never the same, and what all they had inhaled debris wise and all that. And for years, and I was saddened, I was angered, and just like, what the fuck? Come on, government, what the hell? But for many years, we had a case where these people that risked their lives were not getting the funding that they needed to be able to take care of themselves, and I can't remember the guy that had just passed that was a firefighter, but I know when he was with John the last go round, he was supposed to go do a round of chemo. It was supposed to be like his 62nd or 63rd or some high ass number like that, and that actually came from his mouth right before he had passed away or whatever. And for years and years and years and years and years, these men and women that risk their lives, they've been wanting some type of a compensation fund, a permanent compensation fund, for the first responders and everything. And Jon Stewart has pretty much been spearheading the hell out of that. And finally, in a bipartisan agreement that was announced earlier today, it was voted 97-2. They're going to make the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund permanent. And the House earlier had passed the measure 402-12. That was earlier this month. Now, just needs to go to the president. He puts his John Hancock. Rest is pretty much history. And the president has already said he's going to give it the signature. He's not turning away from it. He's looking forward to signing it. So I'm really happy that, these men and women are going to be getting permanent funding. I really, really am. Sincerely. And I have found out about this maybe, I want to say, about 5 years ago. And I was just so fucking heartbroken at what was going on. I really legitimately was. Switching it up a little bit, I see that with regards to Ezekiel Elliott, he's thinking about sitting out training camp. He's trying to show a little bit of tough love because he's in that year now where he's able to try and renegotiate a new contract with the Dallas Cowboys. And he's not really feeling the love right now in Dallas. Dallas Cowboys is one of many teams that I follow every single year. Don't ask me what are the other teams. We'll get into that on the next show. I just want to home in on Ezekiel Elliott because hearing his story, it almost kind of reminds me to a certain degree of what went down with Emmitt Smith. And anybody that remembers, you had that great, phenomenal season, Super Bowl winners and everything, and now you go into the next season, Emmitt Smith ain't at training camp, Emmitt Smith ain't playing. What's going on with Emmitt Smith? Emmitt Smith, brother, just want to get paid. Jerry Jones is trying to hold out and everything. That's practically what I thought about when I heard the news about what was going on with Zeke Elliott, right? And I was talking to my coworker Marcus about this earlier today, and shout out to Marcus. I told him, I said, look, man, when it's all said and done, I like the fact that Stephen Jones, Jerry Jones' son, is coming more and more into power, and he's being a little bit more vocal and being a bit more of the organization's conscious, so to speak, right? Jerry has always been, boy, I tell you what, I really love him. I really love him. He plays so good. Man, he can beat people. He can do whatever. It's all right. As long as he plays for me, everything's going to be just fine. Just keep winning. That's all it's about. He's my favorites. Yeah. Anything you need, I got you. I'm your man, right? Whereas Steven, it's kind of like, yeah, I hear you, but let me go back to the drawing board and we'll see. We'll see. You know, you got to earn it first. We'll see. So I like that Steven is being a little bit more of, nice way of putting it, tightwad, but basically the conscious and saying, well, wait a minute, Dad, wait a minute now. Let's not put ourselves in a situation where we're going to have this hefty price tag of player contract. And productivity wise, it either gets worse or it's at a stalemate for a couple of years to come. You know, let's not really do that. I like how Stephen Jones is operating now. Seeing as how this team has been a team that I've been following for many years, at least over 20 years. If you ask me if the team will be just fine without Zeke, I will say to you, no. They need Zeke. I just can't explain it, but watching so many Cowboy games, I'm telling you, man, Dak and Zeke, they play off of each other so damn well, and it rubs off on the offense, and it ultimately rubs off on the defense as well. You know, but the one thing that I have always noticed, the earlier that you're able to have Zeke be a impact player, the better. You give him a couple of grabs, give him some of those touches, the better. Yeah, the earlier the better, because he starts off kind of cold. And if you get to him really early, he will get hot. But if you prolong coming to him in a timely manner, like if you almost go 2 quarters without really giving Ezekiel Elliott those touches he needs, and you try to go to him late in the second half, he might not be able to finally get that good hot streak going, okay? So I like the fact that Jason Witten is coming out of retirement. That should help them a little bit, just a little bit. I mean, look, if you've got a 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 2, yeah, Jason Witten, give it to him, push come to shove, he's probably going to be able to give you exactly what you need, right? So I'm not really, I'm confident that they'll be able to work something out when it's all said and done. I'm pretty confident. Also, I want to send my thoughts and prayers to a boxer. Was very, very shocked at what had happened to this boxer. And it makes sense for me to talk about this because it's happened right here in the nation's capital. Okay, so for you guys that maybe do not know, because it's made national headlines and everything, there was a Russian boxer that had fought out in Prince George's County, Maryland at the MGM Harbor on Friday. And the boxer's name, he's a Russian boxer. His name is, and I apologize in advance if I butcher his name is Maxim Dadashev. And he sadly had died as a result of his injuries that he suffered from the Friday night fight that he had against Puerto Rico's Sabril Matias. And the way the scorecard had pretty much went, according to ESPN and everything, they pretty much had the fight 109 to 100, 108 to 101, and 107 to 102 in favor of Matias. Matias was dominating. And what's really heartbreaking about this story is the fact that the trainer for Maxim, you know, he kept trying to, hey, you're not really looking that good out there. I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to throw in the towel, live to fight another day. Maxim did not want the fight to stop. Maxim felt he could keep going. He was all right. And I don't know what it was that finally made the trainer say, okay, you know what? I've seen enough, but pretty much I think it was either after the conclusion of the 11th round or during the 11th round. I'm a little bit confused about, but something involving the 11th round. That's when his trainer decided, nah, man, that's it. You are done. So as he's getting ready to take him, Maxim that is, backstage to the locker room, he's starting to puke. He's bleeding from his mouth or whatever. And he pretty much passes out like right as they get ready to hit the locker room or right when they enter the locker room. And so pretty much they had took him to a nearby hospital here. And he went into a coma, and they opened up his brain. They went inside. They tried to do, everything they could he was hemorrhaging like a motherfucker. They tried to do everything that they could with that bleeding on the inside. And it was pretty bad. Basically, the family was called. I'm not sure as far as all of the family members that were able to make it to the hospital in time, but his wife definitely was able to make it in time. And pretty much, they took him off the support, and, the rest is sadly the way it had played out. So he's no longer with us when it's all said and done. Broke my heart when I heard that. This guy, 28, only fucking 28, right? Wife leaves behind a 2-year-old kid. Just marinate on that for a second. I mean, even if you're not a parent, just to hear that somebody, I'm sure there are those of you that are either an uncle or, godfather or, something. I'm sure there's some of you out there that can kind of at least relate, even if it's from a pet standpoint or whatever, to just, it's one thing if you lose your life, but on top of losing your life, now the child is going to grow up without one of their parents. And not because, dad or mama had decided they didn't want to be with so-and-so anymore, so they took their ball and just rolled out, but because of an unfortunate freak accident, right? I mean, not to go all Debbie Downer and everything, but I was talking to Tams about this earlier tonight, and I said, I've seen enough MMA over the years, and the referees in the MMA fights, they always say, hey, you got to show me something. You got to. Show me something. Show me that you are still coherent. Show me that you can still put up a defense. I'm seeing you take too many blows to the head. You got to start protecting yourself. If you don't protect yourself, I'm going to throw the match out. It's going to be over. You're going to lose. So show me something. I haven't seen that many boxing matches in a good while. I mean, I think the last boxing match I saw was maybe it was the Floyd Mayweather taking on Conor McGregor. And then I think the one before that, it might have been Mayweather versus Pacquiao. So I really can't comment any further. This is something I would kind of have to defer to you guys on, but I would like to believe that in 2019, given what we know about concussions and all that other shit, I would like to believe that in boxing, if I can see a referee at MMA saying you got to protect yourself better, otherwise I'm going to throw the match out. I would like to believe that the referees, a good referee in boxing, is going to operate that same way. And we both said the same thing when we were going over what had happened, sadly, to this young man. We both had said, wow. So basically, Rocky IV is what had happened to this fighter. Like, that's damn sad. Like, literally fucking Rocky IV. It should not have gone 11 rounds. It shouldn't. If he was taking that many blows to the head, somebody should have had the goddamn fucking common sense to go, man, he's taking too many blows to the head. We got to stop this. Live to fight another day. They say pride comes before the fall. Like, I'm sorry, I would rather live to fight another day, even if it means I have to start back from the bottom or whatever, work my way back up to the top again. So be it. I would rather do that than basically risk being in a wheelchair as a vegetable, or worse, just losing my life altogether, and I'm leaving loved ones behind. Now, on a little bit of a good note, it looks as though that the Boxing Federation of Russia, on top of conducting their own investigation as far as what had happened to Maxim and everything, they're going to be providing financial assistance. Top Rank, y'all should know that if you know your boxing. They've also stepped in and they said they're going to be offering financial support as well. So I would imagine that if it hasn't been started already, there's going to be some type of a GoFundMe that's going to be created and all that. I'll have more information on that as soon as it becomes available. But I mean, that for me, I was floored. I was just fucking floored. It was something like within the past, really 48 hours that a lot of us were talking about on social media, but particularly here in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. Past 48 hours, that's been like just the big talk. Even people that like don't follow boxing, hey, how about what happened to that boxer? What the fuck? So I would really love to see, if it is not in the way that I just described it, I would love to see, my God, this doesn't need to happen again. That's the point that I'm making. Shit like this does not need to happen again. I did some research, and when you rewind it back, the most recent report of a death, like right before this one, boxing wise, most recent one before this one came November of 2018, when you had Italian boxer Christian Daggio died 2 days after a knockout loss to Don Paragana. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I'm not really sure, but it was in Bangkok. And then before that, you got to rewind it back to February of 2018. Scott Westgarth of the United Kingdom had collapsed and died not long after beating Deck Spellman out in England. So, whew, crazy shit right there. Also, another thing that jumped out at me since last we were on the air with you all, Odell Beckham Jr. It's got a lot of people talking with regards to this GQ magazine, this tell-all interview that he did and everything. A couple of things that really jumped out at me was the choice words that he had to say about the New York Giants feeling hurt, feeling betrayed, and okay, so wait a minute now. So on the one hand, you're talking to your team mates, right? You're talking to your inner circle in your team. I'm not talking about fellow players, but his inner circle, PR, family, or whatever. Hey, I think Giants are going to trade me. And if they trade me, it is what it is. I'm good with that. I just hope I get to go here or I could go there. But I feel in my heart of hearts I'm going to be traded. No biggie. But then you get traded, and now you want to take a massive shit on the Giants, and you want to say, oh, it's wrong how they did me, blah, 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 blah. And hey, look at what I was able to do for that organization all of these years. And it's like, wait a minute, Odell. Oh, wait a minute now. Young brother, all due respect, what exactly did you do for the New York Giants? I don't remember you taking the New York Giants to the Super Bowl. Let's be for real. We gonna talk about what had happened this past season, probably one of the most embarrassing seasons of all time in Giants franchise history. Do we really need to go down memory lane? Since Odell has been with the Giants, there ain't really been nothing spectacular to be talking about with the Giants. And that's the honest truth. All right? Odell Beckham needs to understand that the New York Giants has the type of cachet that it has because from the owner standpoint, the way those owners are so loyal to their staff, not just the players, but also to the staff. Talk about loyalty. They do not want to let somebody go unless they absolutely have no choice whatsoever. Unless it is detrimental and it is just vital that they go on ahead and say goodbye to so-and-so. They are loyal to no end, okay? You look at what Tom Landry was able to do, right? I mean, go back, just dig up your history on what was going on with the Giants from back in the day, leading all the way up until Eli was able to take the Giants, get that first Super Bowl and everything. Giants, they're going to be able to rebuild in a couple of years. They definitely are. They ain't going to be doing it with Eli Manning. I don't know how much longer he's going to be able to do what he needs to do. But Odell Beckham acting like he was Joe Montana to the New York Giants, right? Or acting like he was Joe Namath when Joe Namath came to the freaking New York Jets. Back the brakes up, kid. Because you wasn't rolling like that. And then the other thing that really bothered me about this GQ interview was, where is the self-accountability? That's something that we always talk about on this show. Where is the self-accountability? Especially when it counts the most, right? Nowhere in here, and to the person that, was doing this interview, I mean, for me, I'd really, really, really been coming after him, right? But it's like, Odell, come on, man. Come on, if you are really going to have us buy into, hey, man, let me back up a second. What I really wish this interview would have been about, I'm sorry that the Giants felt however they felt and needing to get rid of me. But looking back in retrospect, I can see that there were some things that I said and did on and off the field that was pretty immature. I definitely was not worthy of the amount of money they were paying me. It didn't justify how I acted. I conducted myself honestly, unprofessionally. And I'm pretty embarrassed by that. Now that I'm over here with the Cleveland Browns, hey, look, I wish the Giants nothing but the very best. New York got a very passionate, vocal fan base. I wish that club and its fans, just everybody there, I wish them nothing but the very best. But I'm over here now with the Browns. What me and Baker Mayfield are going to be able to do, I'm telling you, I can't wait to get on the field this 2019-20 season, because we are going to be tearing it up. I honestly believe that you're going to be seeing us not just go to the playoffs. I feel we're going to go deep into the playoffs, and do I dare say, I think if we can do it just right, we might actually make a Super Bowl appearance this year. That's the type of stuff that Odell should really been putting out there in this interview, right? Self-accountability. Hey, Odell, remember that Eagles game where you were playing on their turf? You scored a touchdown. You got on all fours. You peed like a fucking dog. Remember that? You gonna take self-accountability for that? Oh, okay. Hey, Odell, remember that one weekend you had like a playoff game coming up, and you had decided that you and Sterling Shepard, Victor Cruz, Roger Lewis, I think Trey Songz was on there or whatever. Y'all decided you were gonna be on a boat, and y'all were wearing jeans and Timberlands, smoking a big fat fatty and all that. How did that look? And then what happened? When it was time for y'all to play that playoff game, y'all lost. Didn't exactly look too good. Or, hey, Odell, how about that time where that sad picture was floating around and you're in the bed with some woman, you got a blunt in your hand, you got pizza, and it looks like there's a couple of lines of cocaine. Let's say it wasn't cocaine, right? No, it wasn't cocaine, it was just sugar. Okay, whatever it was, right? Whatever. Maybe there was something from the ceiling that had fell and you just wanted to be a good sport, and first thing you grabbed was whatever, plate, whatever. You just wanted to grab that shit that was falling from the ceiling. You just wanted to put it somewhere in a safe place, right? I don't know. I don't care. But I mean, you got all of these instances, and there's always some type of a justification for, well, it's not my fault. No, it was blah, 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 blah. It's always some type of a justification, never any self-accountability. I'm very curious to see how Odell is going to click with Odell, the head coach. I'm very curious how it's going to be. Look, when they're winning, they're going to win some games. Make no mistake about it. Browns is going to win some games. They're going to do a lot better than what they did this past season. Bank on that. But for those times when they're losing, how is Odell's temperament going to be? I mean, when you have all of these things that ultimately led in Odell getting the boot from the Giants, and then the ultimate diss, him saying what he's saying about Eli Manning, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess. Being all nonchalant, do you think that, Eli is the quarterback of the future? I don't know. I'm not really, no. For the amount of money that you're being paid, you're supposed to say, hey, as far as I'm concerned, it's been an honor to play with Eli Manning. You want to talk about true professionalism? You want to talk a man that always shows up for work, wears his heart on his sleeve? That is Eli. Eli loves this game. He is going to be my quarterback. He will continue to have my support until the day he decides he no longer wants to play for the New York Giants, or maybe he and the organization come to some type of a mutual understanding. But, until otherwise, my loyalty is to Eli. That's my quarterback. That's called being a really good teammate. That's called being a good leader. It's called staying face. Because if you're too outspoken, you got to be prepared for some of those ramifications. And boy, can some of those ramifications be swift. Sometimes it's cool being honest, but sometimes being too honest can kind of bite you in the ass. Just ask Andre Iguodala about that, right? But other than that, that's pretty much been it. Nothing really much else I want to dive into. We did pretty good. I'm happy with where this show is right now. 2 hours and about 6 minutes. That's good. For those of you that want the audio version of the show, we'll have that be available, be edited, remixed, all that good stuff Wednesday night. I'll pretty much hook you guys up with that by the time I get in from work and running a couple of errands. So your next edition, I don't know if I'm going to do something this weekend to cover the Smackville thing. If I do, maybe I'll put some audio together. I don't know. Maybe that'll be a Patreon exclusive. I'm not really sure, which, by the way, sign up, patreon.com/RCWR Show. $5 a month. Get you access to some great audio and video content, half of which you won't be able to find anywhere else. Shout out to Gino. Shout out to the Strack Man. Shout out to Austin. Appreciate you guys, as always. And make sure, if you haven't done so already, you sign up for the Discord. We're continuing to grow the community over there in the Discord. And you can't beat that, man. You get to interact with me in between the shows, during shows, all that good stuff. You get to interact with other members of the community as well. Good shit, man. It's good shit. So check it out. I'll actually put in the link for you guys right now before we get ready to close it out here. And where is that? Here we go. Give it to you guys right here. And bam, just hop on in that Discord. Best thing about it, you can listen to whenever I go live. You can listen in there. You can also take part in some exclusive Q&A stuff. It's free. You can't be free. You can access the Discord on your desktop, laptop, tablet device, smartphone, you name it, man. Great shit. You can't beat free. So check that shit out. And in the meantime, your next edition of the RCWR show, if we don't drop that Smackville post show this weekend, we're going to be coming at you all on Tuesday, July 30th, after Smackdown goes off the air. Meantime, be kind, rewind, check out previous episodes you may have missed on demand and on the downloads. If you're new, welcome. Make sure, if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe, like, heart, all that good stuff. You can get at me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Periscope. Use the keywords, the RCWR show. That is going to do it. Much love. And until next go around, wishing all y'all to be safe and most importantly, be kind to one another. Everybody do take care. Stream should be ending, but it hasn't ended just yet. So I don't know what the hell's going on right now. It looks like YouTube's having a little bit of a hiccup. Yeah, YouTube has a little bit of a hiccup. Let's just try that again. I'll say, all right, bye everybody. Try it again. And we still can't end it. So we're going to have to end it the hard way. So I'm going to have to go, hang on here. We're going to have to end it the hard way. It's almost kind of like, no, you can't end it now. No, we're going to go ahead. We're going to end it. All right. All right, guys.